Good evening. I'd like to call to order the special closed session and City Council meeting of the City Council of the City of Victorville. First item on the agenda is public comment. I have one card. Mr. Brady.
Mayor McEachran, may I, for the record, it's not only a closed session, there are also open session agenda items as well.
Thank you.
Mayor McEachran, thank you. If I could ask for maybe a 45-second addition to my 3 minutes.
Well, there's so many people waiting. So.
Well, I'm having a problem. I've got these are temporary glasses. I'm going to take them off. My other ones are getting repaired. Good evening, Mayor McEachran, the City Council members of the City of Victorville. My name is Joseph Brady. I'm the proud president and owner of the Bradco Company, a commercial brokerage company here in town, and president and publisher of the Bradco Desert Report. My address for your record is 12138 Industrial Boulevard, Suite 250, Victorville 92395. I've been here for 22 years. I've had the privilege of interacting with many of you, speaking with many of you, and interacting with your city and your staff, and I've always enjoyed the encounter. I'm here tonight speaking as an individual and as the president of the Bradco Companies and publisher of the Bradco High Desert Report. I'm not here in any capacity representing any other group, association, or board of directors that I'm a part of or positions I hold within the High Desert region. Last Wednesday, an editorial was supplied to Mr. Steve Williams, opinion editor of the Daily Press, which appeared in the Daily Press. It discussed the fact that we have 2 new council members this year, undoubtedly some very well-known infighting, and what I believe the need for a professional facilitator to help to develop the parties' differences so that the city can move forward. As I remember, the Attorney General, the Grand Jury, the District Attorney, and the Securities Exchange Commission have not finished out their investigations. Mrs. Angela Baez ran a platform I think that we can all agree with. We all agree that we want accountability, responsibility, and transparency out of government more so today than any other time. I don't know if we're in a severe economic adjustment or recession or depression, but we do need transparency. The bottom line is that the High Desert is currently a very extremely challenged economy. But how we ask the question, how we make the accusations can be the difference between accomplishing what we all want to do or alienating ourselves. So I stand here today. I've talked to many of you over the years. I've talked to many of the people that I thought would be here in the audience when I wrote my comments. There have been times that I have spoken eloquently, and there's been times I've spoke without any type of diplomacy that I could have had. I probably was a little bit more candid than what I needed to at the end of the day. But I always meant the best information for the person I was talking to. Sometimes I'm a little bit too black and white for my own good. I attempted to communicate with Mrs. Baez on Sunday, December 15th, when her second accusation or comment was in the Daily Press that I thought was somewhat inappropriate, and I realize, Angela, you didn't write the Daily Press headline. And I wanted to give her some advice as a friend, as a supporter, which I was a public supporter of her campaign, and as a fellow Valley resident, on how she could possibly accomplish the end result without alienating people as we've seen in the past 2 months. I strongly asked for the City Council to find a professional facilitator. Maybe contacting Hassan Agrada, Executive Director of the Southern California Association of Governments, could help. He oversees 190 cities, 38,000 square miles, 19 million people, and almost 1,000 elected officials. This is not the first city council person that's had some challenges amongst each other, or their perceptions where they could be different. Angela Canley, I've been very challenged by the fact that I've sent you 7 or 8 emails, a letter or 2, and you won't respond. We originally endorsed you politically because my wife and I felt, as did many of our friends and clients, that transparency was very important at the time that the city was at major crossroads. Undoubtedly, I might have made a mistake. I'm sure that tonight's comments may have an effect on my clients that I wish to bring to the city. So then why would I be here? And why would I gamble 22 years in this city to make this comment? Corporate America is watching. As I pulled on in here, I heard from somebody that said there's 2 other agencies starting to investigate our city. And I'm sure that and I'm not going to say it publicly because I know that this is recorded. We now have the World Wide Web. Property owners, investors, and those that have an inherent interest within the High Desert region are able to find out what goes on in all of our cities by a click of a mouse, a text message, an email, Twitter, looking at the internet. Any of these articles and discussions editorial is for the world to see. And believe me, they are talking, and they are talking a lot. And I'm getting sick and tired personally of spending about an hour and a half of my day trying to tell people that things are okay. We are going through a recession, but that we are going to get our act together, and we're not going to air our laundry, as my dad used to tell me not to do. My dad also told me, and this is, I'm kind of ad-libbing, that You know, if we're having a problem at home, we're not going to go out and tell the world about it. Why would corporate America want to invest in a city that has instability, infighting, potential corruption, etc.? We all have control of what we're doing. I ask for the benefit of the citizens of the city of Victorville, and most importantly, the citizens within the entire high desert region, as we're all connected, that we all start working together to the benefit of what the people elected you to do. I thank you in advance for your consideration. Do hope that I can bring my clients to the city of Victorville without any potential retaliation. Thank you. And I will submit this for the record, and I ad-libbed a couple paragraphs just for the record. Thank you, Mr.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brady. Anyone else wishing to address the city council under public comment? I see no one. Mr. DeBornowski.
Thank you, Mayor McEachran. We have 4 closed session agenda items and an open session item. I would request we go into closed session, discuss those items first. The first is dealing with the city manager performance evaluation. The second is anticipated litigation pursuing to concerns that raised by this council previously about whether or not we are creating hostile work environment type environment. The third is with respect to potential litigation with Odyssey Television, and the fourth is with respect to exposure to litigation with respect to the VVWRA. To the extent there's any reportable action, I would come out and report that action.
I have a question before we go into executive session. Mr. Mayor. On item number 5, is Ms. Bias allowed to sit in on this meeting, on this particular agenda item?
I've discussed the item with Ms. Vyas. Our recommendation is to err on the side of caution and recommend that she recuse herself from participation on that. However, the FPPC is not quite that clear at this point because she is a salaried employee with VVWRA. There's an exception for that. However, I'm still concerned about common law biases and common law conflicts of interest, and it's Mrs. Vyas' decision. My recommendation is that to err on the side of caution, it would be appropriate probably to recuse herself.
Okay, we'll go in closed session. Okay, I'll call back to order the special meeting, closed session of the City Council, meeting of the City Council of the City of Victorville, sorry. Andre?
And with respect to any of the closed session items, that we're ready to go into the public session.
All right, the agenda item number 6 is a presentation by staff regarding Vic Valley Wastewater Reclamation Authority and Industrial Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like the record to reflect that Councilmember Vyas is not here because...
Thank you. Yes.
Because of the conflict.
Councilmember Vyas recused herself from the discussion, closed session discussion on the VVWRA issue. She also recused herself from discussion on agenda item, I believe it is item number 3. On item number 3 on the closed session, citing potential conflicts of interest, and so she did not participate in any of those discussions, and obviously is not on the dais to participate in these discussions either.
Mr. Fox?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I said at the last regular scheduled council meeting we wanted to schedule this item before the Mayor and Council. I indicated that this is going to be a study session, that it would take possibly up to 3 hours. The executive session items were longer than anticipated. There's a lot of information, and while the City Council has indicated that they have read the information, there's a myriad of questions that have risen as a result of the information that we have submitted. We have submitted the joint exercise of power agreement, which is amended and restated, which actually came about as a result of the City of Victorville requesting a sludge agreement from the Victor Valley Wastewater Authority. Our city engineer indicated that this started back in November of 2008 or 7, John?
8.
2008. And they had been carrying through with the sludge agreement. They had entered into an agreement with, well, they had started negotiations with Dr. Pepper Snapple back in 2007, and the City Council had made a determination to build a plant and all those determinations have been gone over. But staff feels it's important to probably rehash this, because essentially we have three new council from the time that began, and although from the time the negotiations began with Dr. Pepper, while there are a lot of items have gone to the city council for approval, at some time or other the staff had to stop and back up and explain why we had built the wastewater plant at the old George Air Force Base, which is now SCLIA, what the benefits have been, and why we needed the sludge agreement. That sludge agreement, when I came to work for the city in January of 1999, was in the process of negotiations, and I and several staff members met for months, and it finally became fairly apparent that to have a sludge agreement, we also needed to restate the joint powers agreement, and we finally reached an agreement after about a year. And I thought that would go that the JPA would go to the member entities. The member entities would be approving that, and then once that was approved, the sludge agreement would be approved by the JPA. The JPA actually approved the sludge agreement. They didn't formally approve it, but indicated it was they could approve it. Indicated the cooperation with the city of Victorville. And we moved ahead, but that never got done. And only recently we found out that the amended JPA could not pass muster, but reasons that we don't know at this time. The JPA asked the Hesperia manager to call a meeting of the managers to discuss what was left out. And of course, we're moving as quickly as we can, because Apple Valley is trying to move forward on building a sub-regional treatment plant for the purpose of obtaining reclaimed water for the town of Apple Valley. Hesperia is also moving forward, maybe not with the same urgency, but with the same intent on carrying building the plants at the same time for the purpose of having reclaimed water for the city of Hesperia. We at the present time have a plant that's in operation. We're taking sludge. We need a sludge agreement, or there's considerable amount of expenditure that we must enter into, and it's kind of a choice that this council will have to make. It's a difficult choice, and what is going to be the cost to the city, and finally getting a joint powers agreement. Apparently there are some indications that there may be some give and take. The staff at this point in time does not have a clear direction because of the many unknowns, and we have submitted so much information that we know that we can't cover this. It has got to be continued. We know there's going to be a myriad of questions coming back to the staff, and we know that the voting member for the VVWRA is Council Member Caballeros, who's also looking for guidance in regard to these decisions that are coming up on how the city will vote in regard to the construction of the sub-regional plants, and how we treat our own plant, whether it should be a part of the equation in regard to the discussion of total operating cost, whether or not the cost that it'll cost each member of the household in Victorville, Apple Valley, Hesperia. There are estimates. I don't want to give the figures because of the range, and these haven't been tied down. Although we were supposed to increase that a year ago, and because of our staff's intervening and refining the dollar figures, we kept those prices down. We believe that there should be as much cooperation as possible between the town of Apple Valley, city of Hesperia, city of Victorville. We are proceeding in a spirit of cooperation, but we have gone, in staff's opinion, beyond the point where we should have these agreements. We need this sludge agreement now, or we must forever move forward and acknowledge the fact that we are not going to have a sludge agreement and don't need the sludge agreement, because City of Victorville doesn't need to be filling sludge lagoons and making provisions for sludge, and then have a sludge agreement with VVWRA. It would be helpful to have the sludge agreement at this point in time. It's pretty clear after 2 years of delay that we're not going to get it, and based on, as I came in midstream of this, I had said several times that the joint exercise of power agreements has been refined. It's in position to be approved, but a tough decision for the city council. If you're not going to have a sludge agreement, do you want to consider amending the joint exercise of power agreement? Why do it? That's a legal opinion, which you need to meet with the city attorney to discuss the pros and cons. A lot of questions, very complicated. Is going to require probably some meetings between designated representatives from the city of Victorville, town of Apple Valley, city of Hesperia. Certainly, our staff is moving forward. As I said earlier, there was a request that the Hesperia manager call a meeting of the managers group to look at this. I don't know that the meeting has been scheduled at this point, but we're moving forward as quickly as we can. And that's, I think, the whole purpose of this was to bring the council up to date and prepare the council with information in regard to these decisions that have to be made relatively soon, we believe. And I realize it's a lot of information, and the council members have indicated they'd like to review these documents and come back. And so if it's okay with the mayor and council, we would then continue this item or place it on the next agenda, whatever the attorney deems to be appropriate. In the meantime, I know the council members have expressed that they cannot discuss this among themselves for obvious reasons, but they can send those questions or call me or John McGlade involved in this, or any other members that's been involved in this on this power plant. We will put those answers together. Obviously, when we provide information to any council member, we provide it to all council members, and whatever's in the package or whatever questions be asked will come. The answers will come back to the city council when this is next placed on the agenda. I suggest that we place this on the next regular agenda, depending upon how heavy this is going to be. The reason I say that is because this requires some time, as you've seen tonight. It's very complicated and requires a lot of time. We're also putting together other information that's coming to the council, but it's not agenda items, but it's for information. May or may not tie to this, but it's got a direct relationship to the finances of the city. The reason we're going to do that is because whatever we do cost, it's important that the council have the information. We don't believe that they can make a good decision unless they have all the information. We're doing our best to supply whatever is needed and whatever requested as soon as possible.
Okay, I think that is the desire of the council to be able to have a chance to review all the documentation submitted to us today, as well as I know there was a plan to put on a presentation. Perhaps that presentation could be provided to the entire council so that we can have a chance to look at it even prior to.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking every 2 weeks, and Doug just reminded me the next meeting is next Tuesday, and the agenda is already in motion, so it couldn't be on the next council meeting. But because of issues we're looking at, I'm suggesting that we have a meeting in between next Tuesday's regular council meeting and the one in 2 weeks.
You would have the option, if you'd like to continue this meeting, to what I'm hearing is the alternate Tuesday, which is the 22nd. That the suggestion?
That's fine with staff. We believe that we can cover a lot of ground. It's unfortunate that we have to have all the meetings. It would start at 5 o'clock rather than the normal meeting at 7, because that's when we start. But it wouldn't be. I don't think it would involve an executive session on this, although something may come up. We would schedule it in case, and so that we wouldn't we wouldn't be here for 3 or 4 hours. But we have to get this in front of the council and have a full discussion on this matter.
The only concern I have with that is that I will be gone the 22nd to the 24th, so I would not be able to participate in that meeting. Is it possible that we could schedule a workshop maybe during the day, latter hours of the day next week, maybe even prior to our regular council meeting, so that we could, I know that's a long day, but if we could do it all on the same day, it'd probably be easier on everybody.
8 o'clock Friday, I'm normally here.
You would have the option, actually, of even adjourning this meeting to that time certain. This is a special meeting. You can adjourn the special meeting, the date and time certain, or we can just call another special meeting and check everybody's schedules to find a suitable time. You can either do it.
Yeah, I would prefer
2 weeks, essentially 3 weeks away.
Yeah, I'd prefer if we could check with everyone's schedule and see if that's possible for next Tuesday. If not, maybe another day next week. But and let's make sure that it's only a workshop and not add a bunch of items to it. That way we can focus on this particular issue. Everyone good with that? Yeah. All right, so then in that case, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting, and we'll just call another special meeting when we can find the appropriate time.
And